someone I'd like to be, a different side of me, yeah. You'll find a different side of me, like someone pretty neat.
Hi, everybody. This is Shakita Taylor here. I am so excited. So, if you don't know, then I'm the author of Infinitely Worthy. And it is a book that is written specifically with women in mind. Women who are constantly questioning their value, their worth, are put in situations where they feel invaluable and worthless. And so, Infinitely Worthy comes along to employ 15 different strategies to help women get out of their own way and embrace who they are and who they were created to be. Today, I have the pleasure of being here with Tracey Pennell. She is an amazing woman that I had the honor of meeting at the Women's Pine Belt Expo. Once I talked with her, we immediately had chemistry. We immediately clicked. And so I asked if she would do me the honor of talking with me and sharing parts of her story. Tracey has an amazing story about how she overcame the shame, depression, low self-esteem, suicidal thoughts of being a victim of child sexual assault. She now has her own business that she is working towards. And she also is doing some real powerful things with child advocacy and making sure that other children don't experience the same kinds of things that she did. So, hey,
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me on this platform.
Tracey, I am so excited to have you here. Tracey and I share so a little bit of trauma. She had some sexual assault as a young child, I believe at the age of 6, correct?
Yes.
And
yes.
My first book, Broken, Bound, and Naked, was about healing from being raped as a teenager. And so trauma is something that shows up in all different kinds of areas of your life. And sometimes if you don't deal with it or if you're not aware of it, it can wreak havoc on your life. So Tracey, give us a little bit about your story and just kind of share with us, you don't have to go into details of what happened, but how you came to be an advocate for children.
Okay. I was sexually abused at the age of 6. Not really sure how long it lasted because I did lose maybe 2 or 3 years of my memory. So I really don't remember a lot of during that time, but got bits and pieces of it. So I decided to become an advocate for children. About 2 years ago, I became suicidal and I didn't know why I was suicidal. I never had stopped to deal with what happened to me. I never just stopped to deal with it. Just always, you know how you sweep stuff under the rug and you just pile it, but I never stopped to just say, hey, I'm gonna take time to go to a therapist and deal with the layers of what happened to me. And so I was suicidal about 2 years ago. Someone said something to me. They said something to me, and what they said to me, it triggered something in me that happened. Now I remember bits and pieces, but like I said, I never dealt with it. And so when they said that to me, it just it spiraled in me. It took me to a place that I wasn't ready to go to. It took me to a place within me that had never been dealt with, that had never been opened up and really talked about. And so I found myself sitting on the couch in the office of a therapist to help me go through the layers of what happened. And that's when I said, you know what, I don't want a child to ever have to experience what I've experienced and not be able to get help and talk about it. And so that's when I became a child advocate for children that are sexually abused.
Now, when you started talking about what had happened to you, not just in your therapist's office, but really accepting it for yourself and with your friends and family, was there a level of shame and a level of, oh my goodness, I can't believe I let this happen?
Right. Yes, I was pushed against the wall and I said, I can't believe that this happened to me. And have went all these years and never dealt with this and just ashamed, like, okay, was it something that I said at the age of 6 years old? You know, when you're 6, you're thinking you're playing with dolls, and you're watching cartoons, and you on your mama's leg. You just a spoiled little girl. And so I'm like, was it something that I said, that I do something that I, what happened? So then all this shame came in. So I'm thinking, so is that the reason why that relationship didn't work out with this person? Or is that the reason why I didn't accomplish this goal? Or is this the reason why I felt so depressed at times, and I didn't know, because I would have triggers, and I didn't know why I would have triggers, and it would shut me down. And so at one point, I felt like I wasn't a good mom. And I'll tell you, one of the triggers that I had, do you remember the twin bunk beds? Like, that you could, like, we had the twin bunk beds. My mom was a single mother, but we had the single bunk beds. And so this happened in one of the beds. And I kept, and I would never buy my children bunk beds, but I didn't know why. I said, I'm not buying, no, I'm not bringing those in my house. But I never understood why. But when I went to therapy, that memory came back.
So a lot of people, shame can come from a lot of different places. And one of my favorite kind of definitions and people who talk about shame a lot is Brene Brown. Brene Brown is a researcher. She's a professor, an author who does a lot of research on vulnerability, shame, and then she does some leadership training. But one of the things she says about shame is that shame is the most powerful master emotion. It's the fear that we are not good enough.
Yes.
And this shame can show up in all areas. For you, the triggering traumatic event was what happened to you as a child. And I know for me, most recently, getting divorced was a very shameful thing. I was like, am I not a good enough woman? Am I not a good enough wife? Like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, being a woman of faith, it was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna be in trouble. I'm gonna have to sit in the back of the church now. And I jokingly say that, like, the COVID-19 pandemic happened just because God loves me. So I was divorced March of 2020. COVID-19 really hit Mississippi March of 2020. And so everything was closing and shutting down. So I got the opportunity to, like, grieve and deal with my shame in private. And everybody doesn't get that opportunity. And so when it comes to shame, it, like, comes in and triggers all parts of your life. Yeah. So what did you do other than go into therapy, or what have you start doing, or what would you tell other women to do who realize that they definitely are struggling with shame? They are feeling like they are not enough in so many areas of their life.
Well, I just started to do self-development.
Okay.
I started to do self-development on myself. And let me say this, when it happened to me as a child, because it was so traumatic, it caused me not to learn in school, like be ashamed to go to the chalkboard and do 2 + 2, because I couldn't remember because of what was going on at home. And so it caused me to not to finish school, not to be a graduate. I eventually got my GED. I'm graduating college in October. And those were things that I was ashamed of. I was like, I can't, I just can't do this. I can't focus. I can't do this. So I started to do self-development. I started doing things that I thought that I could not do because of that. So the growth, self-growth, taking more time for me, being in a circle of women that I could be vulnerable to, but not use my vulnerability against me, and say,
yes. You said a whole lot right there.
And so be able to say, hey, this happened. I could, one of the biggest things for me was being able to get it out and say, this is what happened to me. And they be like, because one of my family members said, "That, are you sure?" So in my mind, I'm thinking, really did, am I sure? So I had to go back and replay that. Like I had to go back to that place where it happened and say, this is what happened this day. So being able to talk about it and be comfortable and in saying, if I'm vulnerable here, I need to be around women that can take my vulnerability and say, you know what, Tracey, it's okay that happened to you. We're going to help push you and get you to the next level. So I would say get around a circle of women or people that can push you and motivate you and love you in that moment of vulnerability. And knowing that it's okay to cry. Girl, I had days where I cried and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm such an awful mom. Because of this. And it was days that I cried. It was days that I would just break down and cry and didn't want to get out of bed. Well, I had to go through that. I had to go through those days to be able to get to this day where I'm free.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying. And I think a lot of us internalize things instead of just accepting them. It is issue of when we do something that we do fail at. We internalize that, oh, I'm a failure, instead of I failed at this thing. That doesn't mean that I'm a failure. I just need to tweak it and try something different. Even I remember early on when I started branching out into the coaching space, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. And there were several times that I have a really good friend named Valencia that I would call her and I'd be like, I quit. I can't help these people. They don't want to help themselves. And I'm just done. Right. And then like 30 minutes later, I'd be doing it again. But it's because very early on in my life, I had this mentality. I actually don't know where it came from, but it's something that I try to teach my children, is that failure is part of the process. When I start a new project, I don't say, I wonder if this is going to fail. My question is, how bad this going to fail? Like, because I know the first iteration, the first time of something is not going to be the best version. You just don't come out amazing. My first child, the mama that she got, is not the mama that I am now. It's like, she was my first try. She was a little bit of my guinea pig. She's an amazing child. And hopefully I didn't give her too much trauma, but it was like, there were some areas that as I look back, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I did that. Oh. And so when we start really understanding that failing and not being the best the first time is part of our human experience, we can step back and not let shame consume us. So it is, I was married and that marriage failed. That does not make me nor him a failure. That means that relationship, for whatever reason, whatever we did or did not do, did not succeed. When I first got divorced, I took this really, really hard stand. I drew a line in the sand and I was like, I ain't doing that no more. I will never fall in love again. I will never get married again. No. And then I even took a step further. And I think you told me that you were a minister, but I was like, you know what? If it get real hard, I'm just gonna live in sin. I'm just gonna have me like a little sugar daddy that over there on the side, you come over with my kids, go to sleep. Like, for real. I was like, that's what we gonna do. Like, girl got needs, so I'm gonna get those needs met. Yeah. But I'm not doing that again. And it really took several weeks and months and even for me to start peeling back, like you said, those layers of understanding the real reason why I was putting those safeguards is because I was ashamed. I did not think that I was enough, that I was worthy of being loved in that kind of way again. I wasn't sure that if I could give that kind of love because I was consumed by shame. And something that you said a few moments ago about self-development and learning yourself, what I had to do is start dating myself again. Because I'm like, dude, if I don't want to be alone with me, why would somebody else want to be alone with me? Like, I gotta learn how to like myself.
Yeah.
So that is, I think is right on point. So when you were going through dealing with feeling like I'm not enough as a mom, I'm not enough, I mean, it was showing up in different relationships and things, like how did you change like that internal self conversation, that negative subconscious talk? Like what did you do to start doing that?
Well, because I am a minister, the word of God became my weapon.
Mm-hmm.
The word of God became my weapon. Prayer became my weapon. Fasting became my weapon. Consecration became my weapon. So I would say, instead of saying I'm not, I would say I am. I would literally have sticky notes. I am this. I am that. You will do this. You will not do that. This is gone. This is here. So I would literally speak that and write it down. Like I would be in my car driving and I would say it in the atmosphere and release it in the atmosphere, because life and death lies in the power of the tongue. So I would begin to speak life out of my mouth. And so I began to think on that this is who you're going to be. This is, you're going to do this and you're going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more that I went to therapy, and my therapist would dig in those layers. I mean, she would dig it out. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna survive this. She would dig it out. And I would go home and I would think about the therapy session. And then I began to write down things. I would write down things. And I'm gonna tell you what my biggest thing was that helped me internally was hearing someone else say that they could survive whatever the thing was that happened in their life. It didn't have to necessarily be sexual abuse, but just to know that they had went through something in life and they survived it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So you said two things that I 100% ascribe to and preach. Like you had a mindset shift, and that mindset shift happened with affirmations and journaling.
Yeah.
And so I want to take the first with affirmations. I too am a write it on the mirror kind of person, but a lot of people, especially people who are not of Christian faith, they're like, oh, well, I don't pray, I don't do that.
Yeah.
But the concept of affirmations goes beyond religion, goes beyond that, because it's all about manifestation. It's all about what you focus on expands. All of these concepts are philosophical concepts that have been around since ancient times, because it's true. It's true. It's like I give people the example of an itch, right? It seems like a mosquito could bite you right here and you're fine. You're fine. But as soon as you notice it and start scratching it, all of a sudden you like, oh, you can't stop scratching it because you were focused on it now. You so when you do that, put that same energy into attacking your shameful thoughts, your negative thought spiral. It is amazing what could happen. Yeah. It is amazing what can happen just by simply saying it out loud and manifesting it. And then also journaling. I don't know about you, but I am an extremely private person when it comes to like my emotions and stuff that I'm going through, whatever. And I was getting in this situation that I like bottle it all up. And so it wasn't getting out. And you can't go to therapy every day. I guess you could go to therapy every day of the week, but it's just not practical for most of us to go 7 days a week.
No.
So on the days that we're not in therapy, there has to be a place for it to go, because that's all just energy. That's all, people call it vibrations, energy, whatever you want to call it. It all gets stuck in there. And journaling it is an excellent way to get it out. So the book that I just wrote, Infinitely Worthy, it came about through putting together journal entries that I wrote. So during the process of me being separated, trying to learn how to forgive myself, forgive my ex, learn to move forward, it were just little journal entries that I was making to try to work on me. And then earlier this year, they all came together in this collection, and it was like, oh wait, this might actually help somebody. Like let's give it out there in the atmosphere and see if it can help somebody. So with your journal practicing, is that something that you do regularly? Is it sporadic? If somebody's starting out, what would you tell them?
Well, for me, I do it regularly, but starting out, I mean, I guess you just have to know you and know some people don't even like to write. We're in a world of technology. Everybody type, or texting or whatever. But I like to write it. It's something about the writing on the paper with the pencil for me. And so I would tell someone, just take it step by step. Start somewhere. I don't care if it's just 2 words. Write it.
Yeah.
It could be 1 word. Write it.
Yes. I definitely agree. So I suck at journal writing. Like, I don't do it consistently. I do it when I am feeling something. So even if I don't have words, and I like pen and paper, but I don't always have it with me. So my journal entries, most of them are in the notes of my phone. And it's one of those things that if I'm super frustrated or if I'm mad, or even if I'm really excited about something, I'll just take a moment right there where I am and be like, today I feel frustrated. I don't know why. Everything is getting on my nerves. And I don't know what to do with these thoughts, so I'm putting them here. And something that simple for me helps me move on. It's like, now I don't have to carry it with me. I can move on with the day. And many times I'll come back and just be like strolling through and be like, oh, now I know what was going on that day. And sometimes it's something as simple as the day before that I started my period. So I was like all over the place. And other days it's like, man, that was the day after I found out this information, or I was working on a project that didn't work out. And instead of really processing that I failed, I'm not a failure, I was feeling like a failure. And I was not processing through like I should.
I think the journaling is a form of growth. I think it helps you move when you can go back and look and see what you wrote down that day. It you can grow from that. And so I just like the pencil and paper. I have things in my notes on my phone as well. But I think I feel like I get more powerful when I write it down, like I'm Superwoman, like I'm writing this down.
I like it.
I feel like, but it's all the same. It's all the same. And so you become like your own little go-to person. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you can't share that with everybody. Everybody is not ready for that part of your life. Everybody's not ready to hear, girl, I had a bad day today. And everybody's not ready for that. So you become like your own go-to person when you journal it. And you be like, you know what, I'm going to do better right here. Or I'm not going to do this. And so I think that there's just a power in writing it down or texting it down, or whatever you want to call it.
There's one more thing I want to touch on before we start wrapping this up, but you just said something very powerful about everybody can't handle your truth and your vulnerability. I think that that's very important. There are people that are in your life that love you to life. They would do anything for you, but they do not have the emotional capability to be there for you the way you needed someone to be there for you. And so it's not negative. You don't cut those people out. You love them for that. And you can be that person for yourself, but you also look for other people who can. And it's hard to find those people, especially when you've had situations where there's been friendship betrayals or relationship betrayals, all that junk. But all of that, getting rid of your shame, moving forward through that, processing it stands in the ability to be vulnerable, to accept all of your emotions, the good, the bad, the ugly, and say, this is how I feel. I am allowed to feel that way. Now, once I give myself permission to feel all the things, that I can say, okay, I felt it now. How do I move forward? What's step one? I think some of us, especially when you're trying to be like a good person, it's like you almost feel bad for being mad. And it's like, no, man, I'm mad. You did that to me. This made me feel this kind of way, this, and really giving permission to feel that. One thing I always tell my kids is the Bible says, be angry, but do not sin. And so what I tell them is when they're mad, I was mad, so I slapped my brother. I was mad. So I said, no. You have the right to be mad. You can be as mad as you want to be. You go to your room and punch pillows, do whatever you want to do and be mad. I said, but what you're not going to do up in this house is be mad and make that somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
You are not mad because someone did something to you. You are mad because what they did, you allowed to hurt you. And that's okay. It's okay. That's human. But just own it. Be like, I'm mad because that's a soft spot for me. That hurt because that's a trigger wound. You hurt me because I allowed you into my circle and you betrayed my trust. But there ain't no shame in that. Say, okay, that's what happened. I'm going to feel the feelings and then I'm going to take step one forward.
Yes.
So yes, I am excited. I'm excited. Okay. Is there anything else that you want to add to this conversation that I didn't ask you?
One thing that happened when I was sexually abused was because it was hidden and no one knew about it till later on in life. I don't do private relationships. I don't do secret hidden relationships. I think if you can't be out in the open, because that's a trigger for me. So I don't do that. And I would tell any one of you, if you had this to happen in your life, don't do secret nothing. If you can't be out in the open with people and they know who you are in their life, whether it's a friend or whoever, you don't need that kind of relationship in your life. I call it a stumbling block. And so I just say,
I'm going to interrupt you for a minute because I need you to clarify. Are you saying I shouldn't be the side chick? Are you saying that if I'm with somebody, they need to let everybody know? Which one are you saying?
Well, the side chick, the whatever kind of chick. No, you don't need to be that. You need to be out in the open. You the light. You need to be seen. So whether it's a friendship, it doesn't have to be like a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever. It could be like a friendship or anything like, when it's time for that to be released, for people to know. I just think private things are just not, some private things are just not, especially when you've been traumatized with any type of sexual thing where somebody didn't know about it. So I just don't, I just don't do the privacy part of it. I think that, let's get this out in the open. Let's not keep this a secret from anyone. Let's let the world know what's going on here, especially if you say that you're with someone. So private relationships was a trigger for me. It's spiraled me to a place that I probably at times I think I could come back, so I would encourage that. I would definitely encourage that.
You know what? It's so funny. I think you're right. Okay. But it's so funny because I was definitely that person. So when I finally start seriously dating someone, he and I dated for almost a year before any of my friends even knew his real name. So our first date, we went kayaking. So I referred to him as Kayak Guy. And nobody knew anything about him except for my little sister. So I was like, in case I get kidnapped, I'm gonna need somebody to know all the information. So we got to know all the information in case I get kidnapped, murdered, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But but what you're saying is true. Because the underlying reason that all of that was done in secrecy is because I still had some layers of shame. And I was like, if this relationship fails too, I don't want everybody to know.
That's good.
And so really, I wasn't able to articulate that then, but now on this end of it, it's very easy for me to say that. And funny story, one of the podcasts, he's actually on it, and he thought that the reason I was so secret is because I was married. He thought I was secretly married with the family, and he was my side.
Oh my! So he was having the issue.
Yes. But you know, he's too macho to say that. It was like over a series of conversations, and it was like, look, this is not working for me. But yeah, so I 100% agree that you're right. But I was the one who had the layers of shame and who was like, nah, let's keep this over here. Let's keep this over here.
That's good. That's real good.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All right. So everybody, Tracey is in the process right now. As you heard, she's worked through a lot of shame, a lot of depression, a lot of really big things. And she is currently working on a book. So we will have her back when she's ready. Really processing these really deep traumas, this really deep shame is a lot of emotional work. So when this comes out, we're going to make sure that we support her, make sure everybody goes out and gets it, because in order to put something like that on paper, it has to come from a deep place. And that deep place is healing, not just for the person that's writing it, but also for the reader. Even if you don't have sexual assault, any kinds of trauma, they all follow the same path of how they can start shame in your life. I want to end this with one of the hindsight lessons that I put in the book. And it says that you are worthy of love, you're worthy of respect, and you're worthy of happiness. Sometimes shame might tell you that you're not worthy, but shame is wrong. You are so much stronger than your shame. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you guys on the other side. Bye.
Guys, thank you. Thank you.